It's the most powerful show on television. High drama with intense energy. A show dedicated to a few brave souls who risk their lives for the sake of their craft. Its in-depth reporting goes to the core and unlocks the mysteries behind today's raciest sport. Motorsports. Catch it when you can.
Speed Station welcomes you to Mansfield Motorsports Park in Mansfield, Ohio for the running of the Chevrolet Accessories 400. In the race analysis, today's event will take place over the course of 200 laps around the .444-mile bull ring here in Ohio, with stage number 1 ending on lap 50 and stage 2 coming to its conclusion on lap 100. Also make note of the fact that this racetrack is a crash magnet. We almost consistently have more than 5 caution periods, not even counting stages, over the course of these races here at Mansfield. It's a tight bull ring. It lends itself to aggressive moves, especially with how wide this racetrack is. It opens up the opportunity for dive bomb moves into the corners. Sometimes somebody oversteps their level of grip and gets into someone outside of them, causing an accident. We saw quite a few crashes in the Chevrolet Accessories 200 on the Camping World Truck Series side, and I expect quite a few here today in the NASCAR Cup Series. And cautions breed cautions here at Mansfield, so once even we get a stage caution, you might need to expect a few run-ins during the restarts. In your regular season point standings entering the race here at Mansfield, Kevin Harvick still holds just a 10-point lead above Joey Logano in that number 22 car for Team Penske. Logano closed that point lead up quite a bit in the last race at New Hampshire, as Harvick did not get a very good run on the road course, while Logano brought home a very decent finish and did not end up getting in trouble in any which way, closing that point gap up by quite a few points. If Harvick makes just one mistake and Logano can capitalize on it once again here at Mansfield, Logano may just leave this race as the point leader. Kevin Harvick lost the regular season championship last season to Ryan Blaney. This season it looks like Blaney will not be a factor in the regular season championship. He's well outside the top 20 with no opportunity of closing the gap up to the leader. In fact, Blaney's in must-win territory. However, Team Penske does have the opportunity of stealing the regular season championship off of Kevin Harvick once again. Denny Hamlin still sets third in regular season points, 42 points out of the lead. Chase Elliott moved up to fourth in points last week with his second win on the season at New Hampshire. He is now 50 points out of the point lead. Daniel Suarez is fifth, 65 points out of the lead. Brandon Jones is in sixth in points, 69 points out of the lead. Martin Truex Jr. and Brad Keselowski are both 77 points out of the point lead. Truex gets the tiebreaker with his win at Dover. Clint Boyer is ninth in point standings, 80 points out of the lead. And Kyle Busch has moved up to 10th in regular season points, 87 points out of the point lead. Currently holds a tiebreaker above the two-car DiBenedetto, as Kyle Busch has 2 wins on the season to DiBenedetto's 1. In your playoff standings, Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, Brandon Jones, Kyle Busch, Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin, Daniel Suarez, Martin Truex Jr., Matt DiBenedetto, Kyle Larson, and Kaz Gralla are all locked into the playoffs via their wins this season. We still have quite a few contenders, including Bilicki, Magnussen, Harrison, Burton, and Anthony Alfredo, who have wins this season and are running full-time, but currently set outside the top 30. So we really have to keep our eyes on that top 30 battle, and Kaz Gralla right now just sets 26th in regular season points, so it's entirely possible that he could even drop outside the top 30 and out of a playoff spot. Right now, Joey Logano sets best of the rest, 101 points above the cutoff line. That's more than a full race above the cut line, so as long as we do not get more than 16 winners, Joey Logano seems to have pointed his way into the playoffs. Brad Keselowski is 34 points above the cut line, that 88 car for Hendrick Motorsports. Clint Boyer over the last few weeks, after scoring 3rd, 6th, and 6th in his last 3 starts, has driven his way from being outside the playoff running grid by more than 20 points to now well within it, 31 points above the cutoff line. Eric Jones DNQ'd for the race last week at New Hampshire. He is now just 10 points above the cutoff line, the 37 for JTG Doherty Racing. Alex Bowman now just sets 7 points above the cutoff line, the 48 for Hendrick Motorsports. On the outside looking in, we have the 8 car of Reddick, who is also just 7 points on the outside of that playoff cutoff line. Justin Allgaier, 21 points on the outside looking in. Remember that earlier this season, he even led the point standings in regular season points. A huge drop-off from the first few months of the season for the 42 team. So Allgaier has quite a bit of work to do to race his way back up into the top 16. His teammate Kurt Busch, 33 points out of making the playoffs after his DNF last week at New Hampshire, after that run-in on pit road with Logano. And Michael McDowell has actually raced his way up into a playoff contending spot. He sets 34 points out of making the top 16 right now. We did not anticipate to start the year that McDowell would have an opportunity of pointing his way into the top 16. But right now, he is within one race of the cutoff line and has a legitimate shot at making the playoffs for Front Row Motorsports. NASCAR invited Stewart Haas Racing and its 4 full-time NASCAR Cup Series competitors, Eric Almirola, Clint Boyer, Kevin Harvick, and Cole Custer, to test the next-gen car here at Mansfield Motorsports Park. And what all drivers noticed, when this is congruent with a lot of the feedback we've gotten from the Cup Series competitors so far this season, is that even with the same amount of downforce as the current Cup Series cars have at the same track, that these cars are much more drivable into the corner. And that's mainly due to those wider tires that these race cars run. Less sidewall flex as well, with those 3 inches of the tires taken away due to the wider, well, not wider, but bigger wheel in general, 18-inch wheel as compared to the 15-inch wheels that we run currently on the Cup Series cars. And due to independent rear suspension, the car is a little bit more reactive. And second of all, you have that rear end camber adjustment, which allows you to essentially lay the tires down and corner a lot easier than our current Cup Series cars are allowed to do. So really, the feedback from all 4 competitors is rather positive, especially from drivers such as Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick with their years and years of Cup Series experience. And going off of their feedback, we are likely to have very entertaining racing at the Cup Series level next season. These cars are very drivable and maneuverable with that lack of downforce as well, because even knowing we're still running the 2 3/4 inch spoiler on the next gen cars, which is the same exact thing we run on the current Gen 6 car, these cars do not have the side force that the Cup Series cars have, so that's still reduced downforce on the side of the car. And you would expect with that reduced side force, you wouldn't be able to drive it off into the corner as hard, but you have that mechanical grip that makes up for it. So really, NASCAR's just taking all the aero elements out of this car and putting it all into mechanical grip. And all the drivers that participated in this test were very favorable of the way this race car handles, and it should produce rather entertaining racing at the Cup Series level in 2022 and beyond. Hello everyone, welcome back to the NASCAR Cup Series Ride-Along segment. We are back in the test car, prepping for the Chevrolet Accessories 400 here from Mansfield Motorsports Park. And I'll tell you what, this is a very fun racetrack. It's a little bit under a half mile at .444, and very wide corners here at this facility. You could fit, in fact, about 7 cars wide at this racetrack. It's not recommended whatsoever, but you could pull it off. So at this racetrack, we have a very smooth entry down to turn number 1. You can get that late apex really easily and drive off the corner. But turn number 3, there's this bump on entry right there that can really upset your race car because it tries to pick the rear end of the car off the ground. So you're turning into the corner with your front end, but the rear end can be picked up off the ground, which will more or less spin you up into the outside wall very quickly. This racetrack gives you options as well. I prefer to run just a little bit higher than the middle lane, but you can run more or less all the way down by that white line and close up to the wall as well. A tremendous amount of options at this racetrack for its size, being just a little bit under half a mile. Here I'll drive down to the bottom right here in 1 and 2 just to prove it. The way this car is set up, it favors the middle, but you can run down the racetrack just a little bit to try and open up your passing opportunities, essentially go where they're not. And this racetrack, even though the surface was redone just a couple years ago, it has been graded down, much like what they did at Texas Motor Speedway. So it is rather rough for as fresh of a surface as it is. And we have that, like I just mentioned, characteristic bump down to turn number 3, which keeps each end of the racetrack unique. And also, not to mention, there's that gap up on the outside wall that caused a couple accidents in the Camping World Truck Series race. You got to watch out for that, because if you try to get just a little bit too far up the racetrack on exit, that wall will catch you because it comes right back out into the way of where you run if you're running a very high line. Say if I were to run up this high on the racetrack, which is a potential line, if I were to try and arc it out just a little bit, I might get caught out by that wall out there. And there's a few laps around Mansfield Motorsports Park in a NASCAR Cup Series car. Should make for a very fun afternoon here in the middle of Ohio, beating and banging all afternoon on this bull ring. And how about this? Ryan Blaney has won the pole in that number 12 car in his home state of Ohio above the 26 car of Tyler Ankrum. A great performance right there out of the GMS Racing team to qualify in second position. Bubble driver in the playoffs, Tyler Reddick, qualifies in third spot. That might be beneficial for him in the long run. Joey Logano, who enters this race second in points, has qualified in fourth position, while his opposition, Kevin Harvick, comes into this race with a 10-point lead over him. He is qualified all the way down in 30th. So if the race were to end with those two drivers finishing where they started, Logano will leave this race with a very large point lead. Then Eric Jones qualifies the 37 for JTG Doherty Racing in fifth position. Kyle Busch in sixth spot in the 18 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. 42 car Justin Allgaier qualifies in seventh. Justin Haley with a great run in qualifying to put that 77 car in eighth position. Martin Truex Jr. qualifies the 19 in ninth position. And how about this? Josh Bilicki comes out in that number 71 car for Tommy Baldwin Racing and qualifies in 10th position. These short tracks are somewhat of an equalizer for an organization such as Tommy Baldwin Racing, and they're absolutely capitalizing on this opportunity because remember, they are running for a top 30 position in regular season points. Also, Jan Magnussen, who is also running for that top 30 spot, qualified in 13th position. So really, it should be a battle all throughout today's event for multiple positions in the point standings, including the point lead, the top 16 advancement, and the top 30 eligibility spots for the playoffs. And so now let's get down trackside for the command.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
Get a rhythm. Get ready to rock and roll today. It's a long race. There will be a lot of pit stops. So just go out there, do what you got to do. No mistakes. That's the big thing today. Just no mistakes.
Pole sitter Ryan Blaney leads the field through turns 3 and 4 and onto the front straightaway. Flagman has the green flag in hand. And there it is. We are now underway for the second annual Chevrolet Accessories 400 from Mansfield. Down to turn number 1, we already have a 3-wide move being made as Joey Logano goes through the middle of both Blaney and Ankrum. Through turns 3 and 4, Ryan Blaney will lead lap number 1 here at Mansfield with his teammate Joey Logano taking up second. Farther back, we have the field fanning out, including Larson taking a very shallow entry into turn number 1. An aggressive move down on the inside by Larson, trying to carve his way through the field as quickly as possible. You see farther back in the field, we have the 11 car of Hamlin. He won this race last season, did not get a very good run in qualifying. He currently resides out in 38th position. Also, Harvick got up in trouble as he currently resides dead last as we have trouble on the back straightaway. 19 car of Martin Truex Jr. has gone around. Racing back to the start-finish line, Ryan Blaney is your race leader above Ankrum, and then Eric Jones, who has raced his way up into third position. Trouble already between Joe Gibbs Racing teammates. And the 22 car of Joe Logano dropped down into fourth position with the 42 of Allgaier in fifth spot. Coming out of turn number 2, the 20 car of Brandon Jones gets the run up on the inside of the 8 car of Reddick. Then Jones gets a little bit loose, has to back off the throttle a little bit. Truex is committed to his corner exit, actually slides up and door slams into the 20 of Brandon Jones and accidentally turns himself around on the exit of turn 2. Brandon Jones makes pretty hard contact with the inside wall as Truex spins around on the back straightaway, but minimal damage on that 19 car of Truex. What was a big impact for Truex, though, is that he dropped down to last position in the race back to the start-finish line, so he's got quite a bit of work ahead of him to get back towards the front of the field. And already, Ryan Blaney is leading the field down pit road for the first time of the day on lap number 5. Not too much wear on these tires already. But like I mentioned last week at New Hampshire, unlimited sets of tires for these NASCAR Cup Series teams. If you get an opportunity to put tires on, you might as well take it if you got the money to afford it. We have had a few cars stay out, however, including Brad Keselowski, Daniel Suarez, Ryan Newman, William Byron, Kevin Harvick, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. They were running farther back, and they opted to stay out to try and get track position. As we've only had just a couple laps ran under green, they should be fairly competitive on this restart with not too much wear on their tires. We'll be able to see how much of an impact 5 laps of wear does make, whether or not Keselowski on back to Stenhouse will be able to stay out in front of the cars that came down and put on tires, with Ryan Blaney being the first car off of pit road in front of Eric Jones, who picked up a couple spots out of the pits, then Tyler Ankrum, who dropped down to third off, Justin Allgaier and Tyler Reddick being your first 5 cars out of the pits. You know, Ryan Newman's one of the competitors who ran the Camping World Truck Series race here at Mansfield in preparation for the NASCAR Cup Series event here today. And Newman has been silently climbing his way up the point standings, currently resides 20th in regular season points. Getting off strategy by staying out right here might open up another opportunity for this Roush Fenley Racing number 6 team to advance their position in regular season point standings, because they are nearing the opportunity of making the playoffs. And now Brad Keselowski leads the field through turns 3 and 4 for a single file restart on lap number 8. Into the restart zone goes the 88 car of Keselowski, and there is the green flag. Suarez gets a bit of a jump on Keselowski down to turn number 1, already looks down to the inside. Side by side on the exit of turn number 2. Suarez down to the bottom into the third turn. And Daniel Suarez is now your race leader here at Mansfield. And the 12 car of Ryan Blaney has been passed by the 37 of Eric Jones. Jones now the first car on fresh rubber. Ryan Newman down to the inside of Brad Keselowski, trying to take up second position. Hendrick Motorsports with 2 of the top 5 running positions right now with William Byron and Brad Keselowski. Currently, the 88 car has been able to hold that second spot above the 6 of Newman. Farther back, we have the 37 of Eric Jones. He has gotten around the 4 of Kevin Harvick, taking up 6th spot. Right now, we have 2 JTG Doherty racing cars in the top 10. Stenhouse, who is on older rubber, and Eric Jones, who came down and put on 4 fresh tires on lap 5. And up front, Keselowski back down to the inside of Daniel Suarez into turn number 1. And now Brad Keselowski is the race leader once again here at Mansfield in the 88 car for Hendrick Motorsports. Suarez up the racetrack just a little bit through turns 3 and 4. That's going to open up the opportunity for Ryan Newman down on his inside. Newman being hounded by that 24 of William Byron. Here comes Byron. Late apex on the exit of turn number 2. Putting that nose underneath the 6 on the entry to 3. And now the JTG Doherty teammates battle for 5th position. Eric Jones is going to take up the spot. As the 24 of Byron now gets down to the inside of the 6 of Newman, side by side down the back straightaway. Into turn number 3, Byron trying to force that 6 car of Newman up the racetrack, and William Byron takes up the 3rd position. Chevrolet now holds the top 3 positions and 5 of the top 6. Eric Jones slid just a little bit on the exit of turn number 2. That let his teammate Ricky Stenhouse Jr. get right back up to the back bumper. And Tyler Ankrum now closing the gap up to the 4 car of Kevin Harvick. Ankrum has that 5-lap tire advantage. Now gets down to the inside of Harvick, and Ankrum will take up the 7th position as Tyler Reddick almost got up into the outside wall on the exit of turn 2. Eric Jones back down to the inside of the 6 of Ryan Newman. These two battling for the 4th position. And it looks like Jones is going to take up the spot with the 47 car of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. following suit. That makes it a Chevrolet swept top 5, including teams such as Hendrick, Starcom Speed Station, and JTG Doherty Racing. Daniel Suarez is not letting that 88 car of Keselowski run away with this race lead. He still has the gap just 0.2 of a second between 1st and 2nd spot. And it looks like a 5-lap tire advantage is not as big as was initially anticipated. That 37 of Eric Jones is about 1.5 seconds off the back bumper of race leader Brad Keselowski. Quite a few laps into the run after coming down pit road. Farther back, the 12 car of Ryan Blaney is battling for a top 10 running position, now getting around Ryan Newman, who has started to drop back through the field. Maybe pushed his tires just a little bit too hard. I'll tell you what, Martin Truex Jr. has not climbed his way back through the field. He currently resides in 38th position after spinning and creating our first caution flag of the day. Not too much damage on that 19 car after getting involved in that accident with Brandon Jones, but he just has not had the pace necessary to claw his way back through this field. Back towards the front, the 00 car of Daniel Suarez has lost about 1/10 off the back bumper of Brad Keselowski's Miller Lite Chevrolet. But still Suarez not letting him run away with it. Still pressuring the 88 car of Keselowski, and if Keselowski makes a mistake, he will be right there to capitalize on it. Farther back, we have the 26 car of Tyler Ankrum. He currently resides in 5th position, getting one of his best runs of the season. Here comes Suarez back down to the inside of the 88 of Brad Keselowski, trying to force him up the racetrack on the exit of turn number 2. Down to turn number 3. They still run side by side. Keselowski misses the corner just a little bit, and Daniel Suarez is now your race leader here at Mansfield. These two running side by side has brought the 24 car of William Byron back up into the mix. Now getting right up to the back bumper of the 88 of Keselowski down into turn 3. That 24 car can turn just a little bit better through the center, about a half a car length lower on the racetrack than the 88 car. Look at that turn for the 24, getting up side by side with Keselowski. Hendrick Motorsports teammates battling, almost contact right there between Byron and Keselowski in the battle for second. As you see farther back, Ryan Blaney has just gotten around Kevin Harvick. That's going to move him up to the 6th position, as William Byron has now taken up the 2nd position off the 88 car of Brad Keselowski. And the Hendrick teammates running side by side has opened up the gap for the 00 car of Suarez. Now 7/10 of a second separate 1st and 2nd positions. Oh, and Quinn Half got up into the outside wall on the exit of turn number 4. As you can tell, these cars are just barely up ahead of the race leader, Suarez. Suarez will be running into lap traffic in just a few laps here. Alex Bowman is not getting a very good run in that 48 car for Hendrick Motorsports. He is just on the bubble of the playoff running grid right now. Comes into this race 7 points above the cutoff line, but right now running all the way down in 38th position. He may exit this race on the outside looking in. Keselowski back down to the inside of William Byron, going for 2nd position. Brad Keselowski is going to take it away into turn number 1. That might open up the opportunity for Eric Jones down on the inside. Remember, Jones has that few lap tire advantage. Might be dangerous to give him that track position needed, because if he can get around the 24 and 88 cars, that will be a straight shot up to race leader Daniel Suarez, and he might be able to take advantage of any mistake Suarez makes in lap traffic. Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano now battling for position. This is for the 7th spot. Logano will clear Harvick up on the outside down to turn number 1. And the Camping World Truck Series winner here at Mansfield, Chase Briscoe, has just raced his way up into 10th position in the 53 RCA Chevrolet. Now try and get to the inside of Newman, who he battled for the Camping World Truck Series victory with. And so now Briscoe's going to take up the 9th spot in the 53 car. The gap separating 1st and 2nd is now about 9/10 of a second between the 00 and 88 cars, as Suarez has now caught up to the last place runner of Alex Bowman. A huge contrast out of Hendrick Motorsports here today, as they have 2 of their cars running 2nd and 3rd, while that 48 resides in 38th position. Whoa, and Suarez almost loses it on the exit of turn number 2. Try and get around the lap car of Eric Almirola. That might allow Brad Keselowski to close the gap just a little bit on the 00. Oh, and Keselowski runs it wide in turn number 1. That has allowed his teammate, William Byron, to get the run back to the inside, but Keselowski was able to hold great momentum off the top. Now just 10 laps to go in stage number 1, as Daniel Suarez has put the 10 car of Almirola down 1 lap. Last week's winner, Chase Elliott, currently resides in 19th position in the 9 car for Hendrick Motorsports. So 2 Hendrick cars up front, 1 in the back and 1 right in the middle of the road. And by the way, how about this? Logano sets right up in front of the 4 car of Kevin Harvick. That's your regular season point battle. If the race were to end now, the gap separating those 2 would be closed up to just 9 points. The margin in regular season point standings, separating the 22 car from the point lead that would still be held by Kevin Harvick. 88 car Brad Keselowski slipped up the racetrack just a little bit. That has allowed William Byron to close right up to the back bumper, but Byron overshoots his entry to turn number 1 and allows the 37 of Eric Jones back down to his inside. These 2 now battle for the 3rd position. Jones debating whether or not to put the bumper to him, as Suarez is getting stopped up just a little bit by the 23 car of Bubba Wallace. Just barely puts the bumper to him right there on the exit of turn number 2. And now Suarez puts the 23 car of Wallace down a lap. Also, Keselowski moved the 10 car of Eric Almirola up the racetrack. Keselowski still holds that 2nd position with now just 5 laps to go in stage 1. The laps are clicking off very quickly here at Mansfield. Now Daniel Suarez getting down to the inside of the 48 car of Alex Bowman. Looks like he's going to put Bowman down a lap. Bowman has to fight extremely hard to try and stay on this lead lap, because if he drops 1 lap down already this early in the race, it might be very difficult for him to make up the point deficit, and it looks like Suarez will put the 48 car down a lap in 37th position. That's going to be very hard for Bowman to try and fight back from, as they almost make contact right there, as Suarez has finally cleared the 48, with now just 2 laps to go in stage number 1 at the start-finish line. 88 car of Keselowski has about 1 second separating him from the leader of Suarez. But Bowman, now being 37th position, trapped 1 lap down, he may just leave this race in a deficit from the top 16, as now here comes Daniel Suarez getting the white flag in stage number 1 here at Mansfield. Has a clear margin and 2 lap cars separating him from the second-place runner of Keselowski. Through turns 3 and 4, Daniel Suarez holds the race lead, and out of the final corner, Daniel Suarez will win stage number 1 here at Mansfield. Above the 88 car of Brad Keselowski, the 24 of William Byron, 37 of Eric Jones, and 26 of Tyler Ankrum. So the call to stay out on the first caution has paid off for the front runners. Daniel Suarez takes home the stage number 1 victory due to that strategy call. And so, folks, just after a quick break, we'll be back right here at Mansfield Motorsports Park for the beginning of stage number 2. Welcome back to Mansfield Motorsports Park. This time it looks like Daniel Suarez will be leading most of the field down pit road. And how about this? Brad Keselowski has taken the race lead away from Daniel Suarez out of pit road. Suarez drops down to 2nd position. William Byron gets off in 3rd. Then Eric Jones in 4th. And Ryan Blaney has gotten off pit road in 5th position, but they have had a run-in between Team Penske teammates of Blaney and Logano, getting into each other under this caution flag period. And this is a very strange accident. These two are obviously teammates out at Team Penske. The 12 car tries to cut up the racetrack to try and merge with the field. The 22 car Logano, I just don't think noticed that he was turning up the racetrack. And Blaney gets turned around off the nose of the 22 car. Really no damage between those two, but a very strange one between these teammates at Team Penske. And now Ryan Blaney gets back in line in his proper 5th position, right up in front of the 22 car of Logano. Really no damage on either the 22 or 12 cars. Brad Keselowski leads the field through turns 3 and 4 for yet another single file restart on lap number 55. Out of the 4th turn and into the restart zone, there's the green flag for Brad Keselowski. The top 2 runners of Keselowski and Suarez get the jump on the restart, but Suarez overdrives essentially into turn number 1. Both the Hendrick cars of Keselowski and Byron both come back down pit road, and the 9 of Chase Elliott. I wonder if this is some sort of strategy. 3 Hendrick Motorsports cars down pit road. It looks like they just topped off the 88 and 24 cars. You'll have to wonder if this is some sort of aggressive fuel strategy, hoping that these drivers have to come down pit road during stage number 2, but odds are they will not have to, as Suarez comes by and laps those 3 Hendrick cars. Very strange strategy as the 17 gets into the outside wall. Caution flag is out, and that has lapped the 3 Hendrick cars that came down pit road, immediately destroying their strategy, and Daniel Suarez leads the field back to the caution flag in the 00 car, above the 37 of Eric Jones, 12 of Ryan Blaney, 26 of Ankrum, and 22 of Joey Logano. And this is why I do not recommend pitting under green here at Mansfield, because this racetrack produces a tremendous amount of cautions. With a very slow pit road speed limit, you can drop down a lap very, very easily. But you can see the 17 car gets a little bit too wide on the exit of turn 4 into the opening of that wall right there, gets up into the air, slams back down into the 48 of Alex Bowman, and gets turned around by the 40 of Quinn Houff. Quite a bit of front-end damage on that 40 car, but this puts all those 3 Hendrick cars that came down pit road 1 lap behind the race leader. And what's even more disappointing for Hendrick Motorsports is that the 48 car of Alex Bowman was also involved in that accident. So really that whole lap has massively impacted all 4 Hendrick Motorsports cars. And because we were fixated on the Hendrick Motorsports cars all coming down pit road, we missed Kevin Harvick diving down to the inside of Stenhouse and Briscoe, making a 3-wide move down into turn number 3. Moving from 10th all the way up to 6th position with the Hendrick cars coming down pit road. And look at this. Once again, Logano and Kevin Harvick run bumper to bumper. These two have really been inseparable this season. And as you can tell, they've removed quite a bit of sheet metal off the front end of the 40 of Quinn Half, including the front bumper cover and hood, but they're going to keep Half in the race, and he is in fact still on the lead lap. All 4 Hendrick cars, however, are now 1 lap down. Alex Bowman fell a lap down, coming back to the green and white checkered flag for stage number 1, and the rest of the HMS crew fell down a lap with that poorly timed strategy call. Now, I have a theory of what the HMS cars were trying to do. You can see that they came down pit road for fuel only. I think what they were trying to do was come down pit road right now, hopefully cycle out to where they could at least pass the leader and get back onto the lead lap before the green and white checkered flag for stage 2, and then never have to come down pit road again. I believe that was their planned strategy, was to not have to come down pit road, because if you pit right about now for fuel, you could theoretically make it all the way to the end. I think it was a very aggressive strategy call for Hendrick Motorsports that absolutely backfired on them. Daniel Suarez now leads the field through turns 3 and 4 for yet another single file restart on lap 63. Out of the final turn and into the restart zone, there's the green flag for Daniel Suarez. And you can see Tyler Ankrum makes a look down to the inside in turn number 1, trying to pressure the 12 car of Blaney. Here comes Blaney getting the run on the exit and slides it off of turn number 2, getting down to the inside of Eric Jones. Ryan Blaney has now taken up 2nd position. And the 12 car for Team Penske started this race on the pole and now has a shot at taking the lead once again if he can close the gap up to the 0-0 of Suarez. Here comes his teammate, though, Logano, back down to the inside. These two had that run-in earlier in the race coming off of pit road. The 43 car of Myatt Snyder is down pit road as well. Possibly an unscheduled stop right there for the Richard Petty Motorsports number 43 team as Kyle Busch gets down to the inside of the 6 of Ryan Newman. That will move Busch up into 9th position, and Josh Bilicki now challenging Newman for 10th. Myatt Snyder is now off pit road. He is 1 lap down in last position. They did, in fact, have a tire going down on the number 43 machine. Eric Jones has now dropped down to 5th position in the 37 car for JTG Doherty Racing as Kyle Larson has closed the gap right up to the back bumper of that 37 car. 53 of Chase Briscoe, the Camping World Truck Series winner here at Mansfield, has also raced his way up into 7th position. Now Ankrum going side by side with the number 22 car of Joey Logano. Ankrum trying to race his way up into 3rd position. And it looks like Tyler Ankrum's going to take the spot away down into turn number 3. Farther back, Chase Briscoe gets down to the inside of Kyle Larson. 2 very well-experienced dirt racers right there. As Briscoe will get around him through turns 1 and 2. That moves Briscoe up in the 6th spot. Harvick slides it on the exit of turn number 2, trying to stay off the 18 of Kyle Busch, as now Busch overdrives the entry to turn 1. Allowing Harvick to get back to the inside, but Harvick gets onto the brake pedal just a little bit on exit. He's trying to get around Kyle Busch, but also trying to do it cleanly. Joey Logano in that 22 car for Team Penske still trying to run down the 26 of Ankrum. He started to drop off the back bumper of the 26 car just a little bit and has allowed Eric Jones to close the gap up to that 22 car on lap 73. The gap separating 1st and 2nd has been extended out to half a second, separating Suarez from Ryan Blaney. Then another 0.7 of a second back from 3rd to 2nd. Look at this, all the way back at the tail end of the field. We have Matt DiBenedetto going 3 wide to the inside of both Kurt Busch and Justin Haley. Exciting racing all throughout the pack here at Mansfield. We also have Ryan Preece debuting new colors on that number 99 car for Trackhouse Racing. Trackhouse scored a deal with KHI Management to provide sponsorship for the remainder of the season. Hunt Brothers Pizza and Morton Buildings will be represented on that 99 car. And how about this? Josh Bilicki has just gotten his way around the 20 of Brandon Jones. That moves him up into 9th position. And I'll tell you what, this is exactly why NASCAR wanted more short tracks onto the schedule. It works as an equalizer for equipment, and it puts the driving back into the driver's hands. It's not all equipment on a short track bull ring such as Mansfield. And it's not quite like how Talladega Superspeedway makes the playing field a whole lot more level, and that's because we have pack racing. And a track like this, it all turns into how well you're able to drive that race car through these corners. And at a track like Mansfield, the straightaways are so short that the engine does not give you a massive advantage. This is not like how when we show up to Loudon, there's still quite a bit of an equipment deficit because of the super long straightaways. This track being mostly about the corners, it all turns into your ability to drive the car in the center of the corner. As you can tell, Chase Briscoe trying to put the bumper to the 22 car of Joey Logano, those two battling for fourth position. Briscoe has quite a bit of laps around this racetrack, especially from that Camping World Truck Series race he did on Friday. Took that 53 truck to victory lane, trying to do the same here in the NASCAR Cup Series, trying to chase down the 2018 Series champ. And now Briscoe gets a nose underneath the 22 car on the exit of turn number 2 and into 3, trying to force Logano up the racetrack, and Briscoe's going to take it. Chase Briscoe moves up into fourth position in the 53 RCA Chevrolet as Logano overdrives his entry to turn 1 and lets Eric Jones fill the space on the inside. Eric Jones is going to follow suit of that 53 car of Briscoe to take up fifth position. Daniel Suarez is really gapping the field right now. He's got an 0.8 of a second gap above the 12 car of Ryan Blaney, as the 26 of Ankrum has actually started to close the gap up to the 12. Martin Truex Jr. has started to track in the right direction recently, currently resides in 22nd position. It's taken him quite a while to race his way through the field after getting involved in that lap 5 accident with his teammate Brandon Jones. And Jones currently sets in 10th in the race right now in the 20 car. Jan Magnussen in the 33 car is doing a very good job here today at Mansfield. Obviously comes from a road course racing background. You would not expect him to adapt so swimmingly to a bull ring style race such as this, but currently resides in 14th position, outrunning two-time Cup Series champion Kyle Busch. How about this, Harrison Burton? He's shown quite a bit of speed on the short tracks this season, almost won out at Louisville, Kentucky. He currently resides in 11th position, chasing down the 20 of Brandon Jones. And Chase Briscoe has gotten around the 26 of Tyler Ankrum as Ankrum overdrove his entry into turn number 1. Briscoe now trying to run down the 12 of Ryan Blaney as Suarez has gotten up into lap traffic. And that has allowed the 12 of Blaney to close the gap to just 0.4 of a second, separating first and second at the moment. And now through turns 3 and 4, we have just 10 laps to go in stage number 2 as Blaney gets stalled out just a little bit by the lap car of Quinn Half. Tyler Reddick on the inside of the 20 of Brandon Jones. He has just taken up 11th position, with Harrison Burton now running in 10th spot in the 95 for Levine Family Racing. Daniel Suarez now gets down to the inside of the 43 of Myatt Snyder. This will put Snyder down 2 laps if Suarez can complete the pass. And Suarez has gotten around Snyder with nearly no trouble, as the 53 car of Briscoe has started to just barely close the gap on the race leader Suarez. Just a few laps remaining in stage number 2. I tell you what, Tyler Ankrum is not letting Chase Briscoe get away right now. The gap separating those two is just about half a car length. And now just 5 laps to go in stage number 2 here at Mansfield. The gap separating first and second is 6.5 tenths. Ryan Blaney is more or less stuck in line behind the 43 car of Myatt Snyder. Finally gets down to the inside of him, coming out of turn number 2. You can see farther back the 95 car of Harrison Burton overdrove his entry to turn number 1 and let Reddick down to his inside. That's going to move Tyler Reddick up into 10th position, as Blaney now has no lap cars separating him from the back bumper of Suarez. But now with just 2.5 laps to go in stage number 2, I do not think that he's going to have enough time to close the gap up to the 00. And now Matt DiBenedetto is in danger of dropping 1 lap down in the 2 car for Team Penske. Just 2 laps to go in stage number 2. Looks like DiBenedetto might have the opportunity of staying on the lead lap, as here comes Suarez through turns 3 and 4. Now just 1 lap to go in stage number 2 here at Mansfield. A clear gap above the second place runner of Blaney, about 1 second separating the two. Through the final 2 corners, Daniel Suarez with about a 0.7 of a second gap above the 12 car of Ryan Blaney comes out of turn 4 to win stage number 2 here at Mansfield. Daniel Suarez gets the stage number 2 victory, sweeping both stages here at Mansfield. Above the 12 car of Ryan Blaney, 53 of Briscoe, 26 of Ankrum, and 22 of Joey Logano. So that opportunity to stay out on lap number 5 gave him the track position to not only win stage 1, but to win stage 2. That does make quite a bit of sense for the strategy call that Hendrick Motorsports was going to do to try and top off on fuel and never have to come down pit road again, because it looks like track position is key here at Mansfield. And so now, after just a quick break, we'll be back right here at Mansfield Motorsports Park for the beginning of the final stage. Welcome back to Mansfield Motorsports Park. Once again, Daniel Suarez will be leading the entire lead lap field down pit road. And Suarez gets out of the pits in first once again, above the 12 car of Ryan Blaney, then the 53 of Chase Briscoe, 22 of Joe Logano, and 37 of Eric Jones. Josh Bilicki got a very great pit stop with that number 71 team. They do have one of Junior Motorsports' pit crews pitting that 71 car. In fact, it's the crew that works on the number 7 of Sam Mayer. 2 weeks in a row, Kurt Busch has had trouble on pit road. He got ran into coming into his pit stall by the 21 of Austin Cindric. Now Busch has dropped one lap down, getting the damage repaired. Here's Busch getting into his stall, slows up just a little bit early, and the 21 of Cindric gets into that rear bumper of the 1 car of Kurt Busch. Busch with quite a bit of rear end damage on that Chip Ganassi Racing Chevrolet. And there is Kurt Busch dropping a second lap down in the 1 car. That's more or less an insurmountable amount of time for Kurt Busch to try and make up. Another huge blow for the number 1 team at Chip Ganassi Racing. They are more or less going to be in must-win territory following this race here at Mansfield. But then again, Kurt Busch won at Gateway last season, and that's our next race at Worldwide Technology Raceway. And so now Daniel Suarez leads the field through turns 3 and 4 for yet another single file restart on lap 105 to begin the final stage here at Mansfield. Up into the restart zone. And there's the green flag. Suarez gets a bit of a jump on the restart above the 12 car of Ryan Blaney. Here comes the 53 of Briscoe down pit road. They have a bit of a vibration on the 53 car. Tough break for Briscoe, having to come down pit road in such great track position, as now Reddick forces a 4-wide move down on the inside of Stenhouse, Larson, and Harvick and made it stick. Tyler Reddick up into 7th position with a fantastic move on the first lap of the restart. 12 car of Ryan Blaney still resides in 2nd position, about a half a second back from the 00 car of Suarez. Then farther back we have the 22 of Joey Logano, but a very tough break for Chase Briscoe as he comes off pit road right there and actually turns around the 10 of Eric Almirola. Caution flag is out. Yellow flag waves as the 53 car of Briscoe gets in trouble coming off of pit road and merging up with the field, which was already going about 4 wide when he got there. Daniel Suarez leads the field back to the caution flag above Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Tyler Ankrum, and Josh Bilicki, who raced his way all the way up to 5th. So first of all, Chase Briscoe was called down pit road by his team because they noticed on the pit stop they had a few lug nuts that were not secured. They had to bring that 53 car down pit road lest they would lose a wheel and wreck the car anyway. Then Chase Briscoe, coming off of pit road, remerges with the pack in an area that he probably shouldn't have tried to merge into. The 23 of Bubba Wallace is going 3 wide with the 88 of Keselowski and 40 of Quinn Half. Then Briscoe slides up the racetrack to make it 4 wide, gets clipped by the 23 of Wallace up into the 10 of Eric Almirola. Then that sends Almirola into a spin that collects Chris Buescher and the 40 car of Quinn Half all up into the outside wall. Brad Keselowski also gets some damage out of this as well. No cars fully wrecked out, but quite a bit of damage on the 10 of Eric Almirola. We also had trouble coming back to the start-finish line. Bubba Wallace turns down just a little bit quicker on entry than I believe the 1 car of Kurt Busch anticipated. 23 makes contact with the 1 car and accidentally spins himself around and up into the outside wall. Quite a bit of rear-end damage on the 23 car of Bubba Wallace, not to mention the front-end damage that he got from running into the 53 of Briscoe. Number 57 car of Kyle Larson also came down pit road from 12th position. He noticed a vibration on that 57 car, but took the opportunity to get those lug nuts tightened under caution, so he will remain on the lead lap. And so now Daniel Suarez leads the field through turns 3 and 4 for yet another single file restart on lap 113. Into the restart zone on the front stretch. And there's the green flag for Daniel Suarez. Farther back, you can see the 37 of Eric Jones trying to get down to the inside of the 71 of Josh Bilicki. And here comes a battle between the Team Penske teammates for second. Logano almost putting the bumper to Ryan Blaney on the exit of turn number 4. As the 71 of Blicky has really closed the gap up to the 26 of Ankrum. And now Joe Logano side by side with Blaney. And Logano is going to take up second position. Farther back you can see Justin Allgaier really taking a shallow entry into turn number 3, getting around the 99 of Ryan Preece. Chase Elliott back down pit road as well in the 9 car for Hendrick Motorsports. Might be a flat tire on that Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet. Yet another impact for that 9 team. After winning last week at New Hampshire, they have not had a very good run here today as the caution flag waves. Yellow flag is being displayed with Daniel Suarez, your race leader, once again above Joey Logano, then Tyler Ankrum, Ryan Blaney, and Eric Jones, who got around the 71 of Josh Bilicki. And so, folks, there was a lot of action on that lap. The number 40 and 1 cars of Kurt Busch and Quinn Houff make contact with each other, and Kurt Busch just takes his teammate all the way up into the outside wall, bringing out the caution. It almost looked intentional between those Chip Ganassi Racing teammates. I'm sure the Monday morning meeting is going to be quite awkward between those two, as it almost looked like it was intentional, taking that 40 car all the way up into the outside wall. Then we had a completely unrelated accident as the 3 car of Austin Dillon pushes up into the 55 of Ross Chastain, turning Chastain down to the 53 of Briscoe. The 3, 55, and 53 cars go spinning down to turn number 3. Then the 10 car of Eric Almirola hits into the 3 of Austin Dillon. The 88 has nowhere to go and slams into the 55. And then here comes Justin Haley with nowhere to go and gets into the 10 of Almirola. Quite a few cars involved in that one. The car that got through with the least amount of damage was actually the 53 of Briscoe. Goes for a 360 on the entry to turn 3. Grabs a gear and more or less gets missed by the oncoming traffic. Now I'll tell you what, this has just been typical of Justin Haley's season. Got a very great finish last week at New Hampshire, but like normal, gets caught up in someone else's mistake, and a lot of front-end damage on that 77 Spire Motorsports Chevrolet. Once again, Daniel Suarez in that 00 car leads the field through turns 3 and 4 on lap 121 for yet another restart. Into the restart zone on the front straightaway, and there's the green flag. Daniel Suarez has been dominant all day long, but this time the 22 car of Logano gets the run to the inside. Joey Logano now pressuring Daniel Suarez on the entry to turn number 3. Running side by side now on the exit of 4. Joey Logano is now your race leader here at Mansfield. Logano has gone a year and a half winless. His most recent victory came at the Nashville Fairgrounds in early 2020. And he comes into this race second in regular season points and could just very well exit this race as the point leader. As now Ryan Blaney on the inside takes up second. Daniel Suarez now starting to drop back after being freight trained on that inside line. Now Team Penske holds the top 2 running positions. Farther back, Josh Bilicki gets moved up the racetrack just a little bit by Ricky Stenhouse Jr., allowing Jan Magnussen to take up the spot on the inside. 4 wide farther back. Now back down to 3 wide as the 61 of Christopher Bell is backed out. Cole Custer taking advantage of that situation, getting around the 11 and 18 cars of Hamlin and Kyle Busch. Farther back towards the front of the field, Ryan Preece has just gotten around the 71 of Bilicki. That's going to move Preece up into 8th position, but now Bilicki back down to his inside. Josh Bilicki's going to take that spot back. Now Magnussen pressuring the 47 of Stenhouse on the front straightaway. Trying to get down to the inside as Suarez now has a sight set on the 37 of Eric Jones as these two battle for 3rd position. Here comes Daniel Suarez back down to the inside of Eric Jones on the entry to turn number 1. Now on the exit of 2. Whoa, what a move by the 26 of Ankrum, having to catch that race car on the exit of turn number 2. Ankrum very well could have lost it on the exit of the corner, and now Stenhouse Jr. forces him up the racetrack. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. up into 5th position. Jan Magnussen getting a great run down to the inside of the 26, taking up 6th spot. Magnussen just needs to take home a good points finish as he now gets to the inside of the 26, securing that 6th position, trying to chase down the 47 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Here comes Eric Jones back down to the inside of Daniel Suarez. Once again, The 26 car has to catch it on the exit of the corner. Almost makes contact with the 33 of Magnuson and backs out just in time to stay off his back bumper. But here comes Balicki back down to the bottom. Ankrum forces that 33 car wide on the exit of turn number 2. And Josh Balicki has now taken up the spot off the 26. This is going to let the 99 of Ryan Preece down to the inside. An incredible battle for position right here. Clint Boyer also trying to take advantage of it. Getting down to the inside of both Ankrum and Magnuson. 33 car dropping back rather quickly right now after being forced up into the marbles. Here comes Boyer to the inside of Ryan Preece now for position. Clint Boyer trying to take up the 7th spot off that 99 car as Balicki has ran away with 6th position. Farther back towards the front of the field, Daniel Suarez running in between both JTG Doherty cars as the 12 of Blaney now sets half a second back from the 22 of Joey Logano. The number 3 car of Austin Dillon has come down pit road and pulled the 3 car behind the wall. Austin Dillon is done for the day. He will bring home a 39th place finish in the 3 car for Richard Childress Racing. Once again, another good day gone bad for that organization. After that crash damage, the 3 cars started to overheat, and it was to the degree that they had to retire that RCR Chevrolet. How about this? William Byron has actually started to race his way through the field. Might have an opportunity before the end of the day of getting around the race leader of Joey Logano, because he has one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. But as you recall, that pitting mistake earlier on in the race where they got that caution, which trapped him 1 lap down, means that William Byron is still stuck down in 28th position, the highest car 1 lap down. Denny Hamlin actually just put the bumper right there to the 8 car of Tyler Reddick. That will move Hamlin up into 14th position with that move. 4 car of Kevin Harvick currently resides down in 12th spot, which right now, if Joey Logano can finish this race where he runs in first position, Logano will exit this race with the point lead above the 4 car of Kevin Harvick. Joey Logano is starting to get up into heavy lap traffic. He has already gotten around the 10 of Eric Almirola, who is very far off the pace, now catching up to the 77 of Justin Haley. Up in front of the 77, we also have the 88 of Keselowski and 23 of Bubba Wallace. Now Logano gets around the 77 of Haley coming off of turn 2. Here comes Tyler Ankrum down to the inside of the 99 of Ryan Preece. This move will bring the 26 car up into 7th position. Owen Byron actually makes contact right there with the 8 car of Tyler Reddick. Byron forcing a 3-wide move down on the inside of 2 lead lap cars of Reddick and Magnuson, and he clears them. Look at this, Ryan Preece back down to the inside of Ankrum. That will move Preece back up into 7th position. He's actually going to use the lap car of Eric Almirola right there as a pick against the 26 of Ankrum, forcing him to run the middle lane, and almost contact right there between Brandon Jones and Tyler Ankrum. Jones had to really get out of the throttle right there, and that has allowed the 14 of Clint Boyer to challenge him. Now on the exit of turn number 2, the 20 car gets stuck in line behind the 10, and Clint Boyer will drive around him. That's also going to open up the door for the 4 car of Kevin Harvick down on the inside. That's going to move Harvick up in the 10th spot. And look at this, the 12 car of Ryan Blaney has started to drop back off the back bumper of the 22 of Joey Logano, but that has brought the 37 and 00 cars back up into the mix. Here comes Suarez down on the inside of Eric Jones into turn 3. Daniel Suarez will assume 3rd position once again. It's entirely possible that Suarez might be trying to cool off his tires just a little bit and make a last 50-lap run back towards the front of the field. Because if we go caution-free, the field most likely will not have to come down pit road once again, and he may be able to take advantage of any mistakes that these 2 Team Penske drivers make in lap traffic. And now Logano has gotten around his former teammate Brad Keselowski. With now less than 50 laps to go here at Mansfield, the gap separating first and second is just a little bit over 9/10 of a second. But Ryan Blaney right now is getting boxed in by the lap car of Brad Keselowski. Right up in front of Logano, though, is side-by-side lap traffic of Ross Chastain and Bubba Wallace. Almost contact right there between Keselowski and Ryan Blaney as now Suarez sends the lap car off into the corner. Daniel Suarez still holding 3rd position and finally getting around the lap traffic. Oh, and Logano actually slides a little bit on the exit of turn 4. Tried to stay off that 55 car of Chastain as Chastain really forced Logano to pinch off the exit of turn 4. We have really, really heavy lap traffic up in front of Joey Logano, including Wallace, Half, Buescher, Larson, Bowman, and many, many others. And that 37 car of Eric Jones has started to drop off the back bumper of the 00 of Suarez. And now the 12 of Ryan Blaney has actually closed the gap up to the 22 of Logano. The gap separating first and second is now just 7/10 as Logano moves up the racetrack just a little bit. 55 car of Chastain starting to hound him once again. Chastain almost puts the bumper to the 22 of Logano right there on the exit of turn 4. Gap separating first and second is now just half a second between the Team Penske teammates. Side-by-side lap traffic up in front of race leader Logano. Now Logano jumps up to the outside, trying to get around the 23. Now back down to the bottom as Wallace pinches off his exit of turn number 4. Now 3 lap cars separating first and second. They're trying to go 3 wide now as Daniel Suarez is going to take up second spot. Suarez getting around the 12 of Ryan Blaney in lap traffic. Now trying to get down beneath the 55. Logano slid it on the exit of turn 4 with now just 40 laps to go. Here comes Suarez to the inside of his teammate Chastain as they make a little bit of contact. Now Daniel Suarez with his sights set on the 22 of Joey Logano as the 12 car of Ryan Blaney gets boxed in by the 40 of Quinn Half. The gap separating first and second is 1.2 seconds. Up in front of Joey Logano is the lap car of Kyle Larson. Quite a stout lap car to have to get around, and I'm sure that Larson is going to do everything in his power to stay up ahead of that 22. And Logano actually overdrives his entry into turn number 1. That will certainly allow the 00 car of Suarez to gain a couple tenths on the 22 car as he tries that wide entry to turn 1 once again. And you can just see how much time that 00 car is gaining on the 22 as Logano has had to move his way progressively up the racetrack to try and potentially deal with the tire wear. There's slightly more banking up the hill, but also marbles. I believe that's what Logano has ran into. And once again, Logano slides the car on the exit of turn 2 in lap traffic. Daniel Suarez right now has got some great cornering ability. He's able to roll through the center of the corner about half a car length lower than the 22, but now Suarez overdoes it into turn 1. 22 car Logano also runs the middle lane. No one really committed to the bottom right now. Logano has to deal with Custer and Larson right up in front of him. And don't forget about Blaney and Eric Jones, who are there to capitalize on any mistakes these front runners make. Denny Hamlin, by the way, has actually raced his way up into 10th position in that number 11 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. A relatively decent run going on for the only winner in Cup Series history here at Mansfield. He won here last season. And now the 22 car once again overdrives it a little bit on the entry to turn number 1 as the lap traffic goes side by side up in front of him. Larson moves up the racetrack as he almost got the bumper put to him by the 41. Now Logano slides it on the exit of turn 4. Logano being pinched down the racetrack. Almost 3 wide move being made by the race leader. Sliding up into the 57 of Larson. That's going to allow Daniel Suarez to really close the gap. Suarez has closed the gap up to the race leader of Joey Logano down to just 0.3 of a second, separating the 22 from 00. Logano once again got pinched down on the exit of turn 2. Just one mistake out of Logano will allow Daniel Suarez to retake the race lead. All over his back bumper right now as Larson overdrives the corner, and here comes Suarez down to the inside. Suarez, though, gets pinched off on the exit of turn number 2 by the 22 car of Logano. Right now, Suarez has a much better cornering ability than the 22. They almost make contact out of turn number 4 with just 30 laps to go. Logano still trying to use that high line momentum to try and clear that 00 car of Suarez. Now Logano gets boxed in by the 41 of Cole Custer. Suarez tries to look up to the outside. Now cuts back down to the bottom. As Logano still getting stalled out by the 41 car of Cole Custer. In line behind that 00 is the 57 of Larson, who is also 1 lap down. Cole Custer doing everything in his power to try and stay on the lead lap. And now Logano overdrives his entry to turn number 1 and forces the 41 car up the racetrack, allowing the 00 to close the gap once again. Logano searching for his first win in more than a year and a half, while Daniel Suarez is searching for his second win of the season. And Logano overdrives turn 1, allowing Daniel Suarez to shoot down to the inside. Suarez back out front here at Mansfield. A big mistake out of Joey Logano in that 22 car for Team Penske, allowing Suarez to once again retake the race lead, and now Logano has to deal with the lap traffic on his inside. Logano being hounded by the 41 of Custer and the 57 of Larson, and this may potentially allow Ryan Blaney to take up second. And now the gap separating first and second is more than 1 second between the 00 and 22 cars, as Suarez has set sail out front. Battle for third spot with Eric Jones to the inside of Ryan Blaney. Eric Jones is going to take up the third position in the 37 car for JTG Doherty Racing. And I'll tell you what, Daniel Suarez will not be denied here at Mansfield after dominating the first 2 stages. He's let plenty of races slip away throughout the course of the 2021 season. And the determination and patience that he showed driving his way back through the field was just remarkable. And now he has really set sail as the 37 now pressures the 22 of Logano down on the inside. Eric Jones trying to take up second off of that 22 car, and Jones is going to take away the second position for JTG Doherty Racing. What a rebound from last week for that organization. Jones did not even make the field at New Hampshire, and now running in second position with a legitimate shot at the victory here at Mansfield. Now just 20 laps to go for the 00 car of Daniel Suarez. He holds a 2.5 second gap above the second place runner of Eric Jones, and almost no lap traffic up in front of him, or at least minimal lap traffic, with only the 48 and 2 cars of Matt DiBenedetto very close to him. And still Eric Jones and Joey Logano trying to get around the 41 of Cole Custer and the 57 of Kyle Larson. Here comes Logano back down to the inside. Logano and Jones still battle side by side for that second position. It looks like Logano's going to have the preferred line into turn number 3. Joey Logano is going to take up second once again, and it looks like Blaney will take third. Farther back, we have the 47 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. running in 5th spot. Josh Bilicki still in 6th, and how about Denny Hamlin? Hamlin has really started to make gains on the race leader in these final few laps of the race. Currently resides in 7th position after being relatively quiet all day long. Daniel Suarez has overdriven the entry down to turn number 3. That lets the 48 of Alex Bowman back by him. The gap separating first and second now is 3 seconds between the 00 and 22. I'll tell you what, that 11 car of Hamlin really must have a long-run race car, and that was not helping him at the start of the race with these quick stages and quite a few cautions in them. But now that we've had quite a few green flag laps, he has started to run down even the 5th place runner of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Daniel Suarez still trying to get around the lap car of Alex Bowman and has really been struggling at it. In fact, he cleared him once, but then overdrove the entry to turn number 3, and now just 1 lap car separate him from the second place runner of Logano. This race is not over yet. 2.5 seconds separate first and second, with now just 11 laps to go here at Mansfield. Here comes Suarez to the inside of the 48 of Bowman, using the 10 of Eric Almirola as a pick. And so this is a great opportunity for Daniel Suarez to put 2 lap cars in between him and the second place runner, Logano. Down on the inside, Eric Jones once again going for third position, getting around Ryan Blaney. Eric Jones going to take up the spot as we now have a battle for position farther back, with the 11 car of Hamlin starting to run down the 47 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Ankrum to the inside of Bilicki. That's going to move Tyler Ankrum up into 7th spot. How about this? Alex Bowman once again pressuring the 00, but he slides it on the exit of turn number 2, allowing Daniel Suarez to finally clear that 48. And you can understand why Joey Logano is trying so hard to run down that 00 of Suarez, because right now I believe if the race were to finish with this exact running order of the top 10, Kevin Harvick will still exit this race as the point leader. But if Logano can pass that 00, Logano will secure the point lead. But right now, Joey Logano is running out of time, but up in front of the race leader, there is quite a few lap cars, including Newman, Elliott, Snyder, and several others as the caution flag waves. yellow flag is being displayed here at Mansfield, setting us up for a late race restart. Daniel Suarez is your race leader above Joey Logano, then Eric Jones, Ryan Blaney, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., your top 5. This racetrack widens out in the center of the corners, but then funnels back down on exit. And once again, the 55 car of Ross Chastain gets a little bit wide, allowing the 40 car of Quinn Houff to gas it on exit. He slides up into the 55 of Chastain, very similar to how Truex went around earlier in the race. Houff tries to catch it, slams into the inside wall, and finally loses it. Sliding around on the entry to turn number 1, bringing out a very late race caution. And this caution flag has changed everything. This brings Logano back up into the mix for the race win. Daniel Suarez was hoping to just drive away with this one, but he's got at least one more difficult restart up in front of him. And the number 8 car of Tyler Reddick is hitting pit road. They have blown up under caution. A huge hit for this team. They were running in the top 15, and they come into this race in a bubble position in the playoffs. A huge hit for the RCR number 8 car. And so, folks, we are going to have a green-white checker here at Mansfield to determine the race win of the Chevrolet Accessories 400. Daniel Suarez really has his work cut out for him on this restart, even with 2 lap cars separating him from the second-place runner of Joey Logano. And now, through turns 3 and 4, Daniel Suarez once again leading the field for a single-file restart on lap 199 of 201. Into the restart zone on the front straightaway, and there's the green flag for Suarez. Suarez gets a great jump on the restart, getting down to the inside line as the 41 of Cole Custer shoots down to the bottom of the 22 of Logano, already disturbing his run up towards the front of the field, allowing Ryan Blaney to get to the inside and go up for second position as Suarez gets the white flag here at Mansfield. This race is official. The battle for second right now has been won by Joey Logano. Now Suarez through the final 2 corners here at Mansfield and on to the front straightaway. Daniel Suarez will win the Chevrolet Accessories 400 from Mansfield Motorsports Park. Suarez, in dominating fashion, takes home the victory here at Mansfield in the 00 car for Starcom Speed Station. Suarez with an impressive victory, outlasting the competition in an overtime restart here at Mansfield. And another great run for Joey Logano, who came into this race second in points, with the first place runner in point standings coming into today's event. Bring that 4 car home in 10th position. It's going to be awfully close in regular season point standings. And Daniel Suarez gets the job done in dominating fashion here at Mansfield Motorsports Park above the number 22 car of Joey Logano, who just could not close the gap on that restart. Really got messed up by the number 41 car of Cole Custer, challenging him on that restart and shooting down to the inside, more or less eliminating any chance that Logano had at closing the gap up to the 00. Ryan Blaney brings that 12 car home in 3rd position. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in 4th. Eric Jones in 5th. Denny Hamlin climbed all the way up to 6th position. Josh Wielicki with a fantastic 7th place finish. That's exactly what that organization needed. And Ryan Preece getting 8th position in the 99 car for Trackhouse Racing. What a debut for the KHI management sponsorship of Hunt Brothers Pizza as well, scoring a top 10 finish. Tyler Ankrum brings that number 26 car home for GMS Racing in 9th position, and Kevin Harvick, who came into this race as the point leader, finishes in 10th position here in the Chevrolet Accessories 400. Also, Jan Magnussen gets a fantastic 11th place finish in that 33 car, might just potentially bring him back up into the top 30 in regular season point standings. Also, yet another consistent day for Clint Boyer, bringing that 14 car home in 14th position. Might just keep him well within the playoff running order. And by the way, shout out to Ryan Newman, who brought that 6 car home in 22nd position. Yet again, another consistent day for the Roush Fenway organization. Following the Chevrolet Accessories 400 here from Mansfield Motorsports Park, the gap separating first and second has been closed to just 2 points the margin between Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano. Harvick getting that 10th place finish and Logano finishing in second was just enough to keep Harvick out in that point lead. Still, Logano has not won a race this season, but could very well take home the regular season championship without even needing a victory. Denny Hamlin still sets third in regular season points, 38 points out of the point lead. Daniel Suarez, with his second win on the season, moves up to fourth in regular season point standings, 52 points out of the lead. Chase Elliott drops down one spot in points, down to fifth in regular season point standings, tied with Brandon Jones for that spot, 74 points behind the point leader Harvick. But Chase Elliott gets the tiebreaker with two additional top fives on the season because they both have the same amount of wins this year. Clinton Boyer picks up 2 spots in regular season points up to 7th. He is 84 points out of the point lead. Martin Truex Jr. drops down 1 spot in points down to 8th. He is 86 points out of the lead. Kyle Busch picks up another spot to 9th, 94 points out of the point lead. And Eric Jones picks up a full 3 spots in regular season point standings up to 10th once again, 96 points out of the point lead. In your playoff standings, Kevin Harvick, Daniel Suarez, Chase Elliott, Brandon Jones, Kyle Busch, Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Matt DiBenedetto, Kyle Larson, Kaz Grala, and Jan Magnussen are now all locked into the playoffs via their wins this season. Magnussen has raced his way back up into the top 30 in regular season point standings with a great finish here at Mansfield of 11th place. He is now 29th in regular season points. Guess what? He's only in by 1 point above that 30th position, but it's just enough to make him locked into the playoffs once again. Joey Logano is still best of the rest, but look at this margin now, 120 points above the cutoff line. It more or less looks like, bar any major mistakes towards the tail end of this regular season, Logano has already pointed his way in to the playoffs this season. Clinton Boyer is now 38 points above that cutoff line in that number 14 car, chasing after what would be his final career Cup Series title. Eric Jones is now 26 points above the cutoff line, the 37 car, with a top 5 finish here at Mansfield. Brad Keselowski sets 25 points above the cutoff line. And as you can tell, Magnussen getting up into the playoffs has made these margins a lot larger. Alex Bowman is now 25 points on the outside looking in. Remember, he finished 5th in points last season for Hendrick Motorsports with 2 wins on the season, and now he's pretty far on the outside looking in. 25 points, that's about half a race to be out of the playoffs. Then we have Justin Allgaier, 36 points out, and Tyler Reddick, 39 points out. Those two are almost in must-win territory, just a few points actually out of being in a must-win scenario. You can still make up 36 and 39 points, but it's a difficult thing to pull off. And Ryan Blaney has now raced his way up to 20th, but he has 53 points out of making the playoffs right now. That is more or less must-win territory. That is more than 1 race of points between him and 16th place. And if you're wondering about Josh Bilicki, his top 10 finish here at Mansfield has moved him up to 32nd in regular season points, just a few points away from a top 30 running position. So Bilicki might be back up into the mix for a playoff spot this season. And if you're Brad Keselowski, you really have to watch out for that, because right now, Eric Jones or Brad Keselowski are right on that line of being pushed out of the playoffs if Bilicki can race his way back in to the top 30. And so that does it for our telecast of the Chevrolet Accessories 400 from Mansfield Motorsports Park. We hope that you have enjoyed it. The next time you'll be seeing us will be on Post Tech, where we give the race highlights of the Camping World Truck Series events at both Michigan for the midweek race and the first race of the Triple Truck Challenge at Memphis, and the Camping World Truck Series return to that fantastic short track. And so now we congratulate Daniel Suarez and company on their second win of the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series season.